I am excited here. Let me switch my thing over. Did we switch over? Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen. As I do my best Paul Heyman impression, I'm here to tell y'all about the exciting debate championship series that we're having today. We have Fady and Liberty versus Non-Farm 420 and Lactoid TV versus Liberal Cluck. We're going to have special rules for each round of this tournament that's going to change depending on the round. I have a fun twist for this first round. Nobody figured it out until I think maybe just 10 seconds ago. And guess what? We're going to have the format as be 2 judges and 1 crowd vote. And that's going to determine that at the end of this, what's going to happen is I made sure, and I'm going to show y'all now on screen the bracket. When we set this up, let me find that clip. We have all this ready. Of course, we're not ready now. The bracket is going to be, if y'all want to look at my Twitch stream, right here. And if you'll notice, I made sure to have all the competitors on the opening tonight from different sides of the bracket. So none of them have to worry about this next portion affecting them. And that's going to be that, guess what? The other team is the judges for the first match and the second match. Woo, big surprise if you didn't figure that one out. Then, I don't have too much high hopes for this debate for y'all's debate skills. That's got to be what it is. So, second big thing about this is at the end of the debate, y'all are going to the people on the other team that's not debating. At the end of the first debate, y'all are going to PM me the messages. Don't tell anybody what you said, who you voted for. You're going to tell me we're going to announce the winners at the end of the show. Now, everybody's going to know who the crowd voted for. So, we're going to build some suspense. It's exciting. Opening statements, I know is asked on length. Keep it between like 5 and 7 minutes. Some of y'all can go long, whatever. We have about an hour. Closing statements, y'all will have about the same amount of time, so keep that in mind. You'll have like 10 minutes, so it's about 15 to 20 minutes set time that y'all won't be able to debate. That's for during the debate. It's going to be kind of free form. Let y'all go back and forth. Try to let the other person speak. Y'all can interrupt. However, I will moderate and ask some questions if I think it's fucking boring or we need to change something going forward. Don't be surprised if I'm like, God damn, this is terrible. And I ask some kind of wild out of the blue questions. Chat, y'all are also encouraged to send questions in. That's good as well. Here's something to factor in. This round, I did this a certain way with the judges being y'all because y'all are all kind of debate broy. However, other rounds, y'all may want to tailor your strategies. I mentioned this to a couple of y'all in the background. This tournament doesn't seem like I have very many WWE type people. However, sometimes you're going to want to have crowd control and you're going to want to have like roast stills or make the other person likable. These are all valid strategies because the goal is to win. This isn't a formal debate. This is an adaptability debate because what do I do in real life? I do sales, and the number one trait you can have in sales is adaptability. And we call that bullshit. So, we're going to go from there. You know, you can dunk on them with actual shit. That's also a strategy. You have to play your strengths. Like I said in this one, y'all are all debate broy, so y'all can probably sit here and take yourselves away from the issue at hand and decide who y'all think debated better going forward. Does a team want to go first?
It doesn't matter. I'm ready if Lactoid is.
I got to pee, and then I'll be ready.
Okay. How about y'all two? Non-farm behavior. Are y'all ready? Does anybody want to go first? No. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do Fabian and Avron, y'all are tails. Liberal Cluck and Lactoid, y'all are heads.
Let me know what it is.
Yeah, go for it. I'll just share this bullshit screen real quick, and we'll just decide what who's gonna win. Okay, I don't remember which side I said was which, so y'all just tell me who I said that at the beginning. Boom. Flip, it's tails. Who's going first?
I wasn't paying attention.
I don't remember. I honestly don't.
I was pulling up the stream in case I had to go, in case I was going second.
Was this Victoria?
Yeah, it was a test. Y'all all failed. Also, at the end of the tournament, there will be some kind of prize. I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. I'll probably announce that.
Is it cow? Can we have one of your cows?
No, you cannot have one of my cows. Maybe I'll butcher one that I name after y'all. Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know. I'll send you a package of the meat with a photo of your cow. No, I'm good. Honestly, that would make me buy more beef if they did put the photos on the cows. So FEMA, don't do that. That's a good idea. But yeah, also this is basically a seeding tournament, proof of concept. Going forward, any other thing already, we're going to be doing a seasonal format. There's going to be a bigger prize at the end of the seasons. This tournament's more proof of concept. I want to get run through all the way one time, make sure we can do this consistently, and then go from there. Any questions? before we begin and while we wait for our contestants here?
Yeah, no, it seems pretty straightforward, right? I mean, we
You would
sit,
think so.
we watch, we judge, we figure out who we thought did better, and then we go, and then we have 5 to 7 minute opening statements, and same for the closing. Hash out the topic. I'm excited to see what I don't even know what the topic is for you guys. I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. This is somebody asked me this. They had to cancel last minute. That's why actually Fady got in. Props are allowed. I don't know what they were planning on doing, but as long as it's not a TOS prop, surprise me. We'll get wild with that. Yeah, I'm excited. So Lactoid Liberal Cluck has volunteered. Y'all gonna go first. Let's see. Y'all's topic was the New York trial.
Oh, hold on one sec.
Is that correct?
Yes, the New York criminal trial, to be specific. There was like 3 New York trials, I think.
Fantastic. Okay, so who wants to go first on y'all? Do we need to flip another coin?
Nah, it's Lactoid. It's up to you.
I'd like you to go first.
Okay. That's fine. So the reason why I chose
Hold on. Let me get up the start timer here. Okay, so we're gonna do Obi's 5 to 7 minutes. And go. You're good.
the reason why I chose this topic is because I think that the New York criminal trial is the least consequential of all of the indictments that he has. I don't really know too much about the Georgia trial, so that one could have been less consequential, or at least not as strong. But I still think that the evidence is there to prove that he did the thing that they were accusing him of. And Lactoid seemed to be under the impression in our last debate that the Hunter Biden trial wasn't political because Hunter Biden actually did the thing that they were accusing them of, but he doesn't think that Trump did the thing that they were accusing him of in New York. And that's basically what I want to debate him about. Is did Trump do it? Did he falsify these business documents?
Okay, fantastic. Do you want to go ahead and open up with the was that your opening? Is that
Yeah, that was my opening.
all right? Lactoid.
Yeah. So, when we agreed to this, and I just want to point this out, when we agreed to this debate, one of the things that I asked, I think is an absolute necessity, is for whoever is going to argue the pro on this topic, whether or not Trump should have been convicted, should at the very least be able to describe exactly what Trump did, like what was the actual mechanical thing like that he did that was criminal, and what should he have done differently to avoid the charges. I was hoping to get some of that during the opening, but because my opening, so
Tell you right now if you want.
sure, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so what Trump specifically did was he signed off on checks that that claimed that Cohen was the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels was a retainer fee for Cohen when it was paying him back for the hush money payments. And what that ended up doing is it led to invoices and ledgers being created because of those checks. And that also had the same false information. So you ended up with 34 of these falsified checks, falsified ledgers, falsified invoices, which are business documents. And in the state of New York, you can't put false information on business documents. That's a crime.
And you know the thing that turned it from a alleged misdemeanor to a felony?
Yes, there was actually 3 possibilities that Alvin Bragg came up with. 4, but the judge threw one out. So let me find that real quick. Tax fraud, um, FECA violation, which is the federal election violation, and New York election law, which was the big one that Alvin Bragg really harped on. Said that it was essential to his it was the most essential one to his case. And the law specifically is 17-152.
Okay, fantastic. Lactoid.
All right. So,
Rally out.
Oh, I do apologize for not getting this to you sooner. I really should have. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's fine. Lactoid. You want to do your opening now? Are you ready?
yeah, no, that's good. I'd like to get the opening. There's some facts of what was said just now that are correct, and some that aren't. and also some that require some critical context. So the actual convictions, 34 felony counts that Trump was convicted of, is falsification of business records, which is normally a misdemeanor, just to be clear. That was well past the statute of limitations. But you can turn into a felony, and which has a longer statute of limitations, if it's done to commit some other crime, right? So if you falsify business records without the intention of doing some other crime, like falsifying in order to do some other crime, like the other crime being the end goal, right? If you don't do that, then it's just a misdemeanor. And there's no way that Bragg could have gone after Donald Trump for those for 34 misdemeanors, because the statute of limitations had been long gone. So the theory was, well, actually, we're going to extend the statute of limitations by alleging that they're felonies. That way we can charge them. And the theory behind charging them as felonies was, well, the law allows us to charge them as felonies if they're done with the intention to commit some other crime. Now, what other crime was Donald Trump allegedly doing by sending hush money? Well, there's as was mentioned, there's 3 theories, 2 of which I have the exact same response for, but one is a violation of FICA, as was just mentioned, specifically federal campaign finance law, New York election law, 2016 election interference, and tax fraud. And when asked to specify which exact crime that Trump actually, falsified business records in order to commit, Bragg said he didn't have to specify, and the judge agreed that you didn't actually have to specify which of the 3 crimes, alleged crimes, that Donald Trump falsified the business records in order to commit. My allegation here is that all 3 of these utterly fail, and the reasons are pretty straightforward. So when Trump made the payments to Cohen, they were for legal expenses. Now, I'll tell you, legal expenses is a wide variety of things. Reimbursing somebody for legal expenses can be not only for legal defense work for the actual hourly rate, but it could also be for expenditures for a mediator, expenditures for some other third party, like a transcript. In order to order like a court transcript, there's all sorts of things that can be fall under legal services, and it's not abnormal for attorneys to front certain bills first. And so there's a couple assumptions we have to make here. We have to make the assumption that Donald Trump knew exactly what these payments for legal services were. Now, if he didn't know, then you obviously can't argue that he had the intent of falsifying this to commit further crimes. So the only, and by the way, it's unclear exactly if he knew for sure, but we have to obviously roll with the assumption that he did, and the jury obviously thought so. So if we're rolling with the assumption that he did, it means that Donald Trump knew exactly what these bills were for, and he intentionally gave Cohen money to pay for the hush money payments that were made to Stormy Daniels. The reason why it's not tax fraud, or the reason why the business, transaction falsification wasn't done with the intent of tax fraud, is because he wound up paying more in taxes because of this. When you make payments to your lawyer, that income is taxable, and so if he just simply made it by himself, wouldn't be taxable. The idea that he did this with the intent to commit tax fraud just simply makes no sense and is incredible. When it comes to the federal finance violation and the New York election law, it's my allegation that the hush money payments were not done with the primary intent, the but-for intent as required by FICA standards, in order to influence the election, the 2016 election. What's my evidence for this? Well, it turns out that Michael Cohen had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels for several years prior to 2016. In fact, in May of 2011, Donald Trump said that he wasn't going to run for president, so he stopped running for president. And then later that year in October, Michael Cohen used his influence to shut down a story from Stormy Daniels that was going to be published in a magazine called The Dirty, meaning that the efforts to stop Stormy Daniels from talking about their affair happened significant period of time prior to the 2016 election and prior to Donald Trump even announcing his candidacy. Why is Donald Trump interested in stopping somebody talking about their extramarital affair? Maybe because he's married and he doesn't want his wife finding out about the fact that he had an extramarital affair with Stormy Daniels. Or it could affect his business prospects. There's plenty of reasons why somebody might not want to have their extramarital affair put out to the public. And it's perfectly, and especially if this is done before he's running for president, the most logical explanation is that he was not
Two minutes left.
Okay. The most logical explanation was that he was not intending to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money, which is perfectly legal, by the way, to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money in order to influence the election. It most likely was done for a different reason, given the fact that he'd been doing it for years prior. The but-for reasoning is essential for federal finance violations because, again, we have plenty of things you can do that are not in violation but could still help you run. For example, when Hillary Clinton was running for office in New York, she had to move to New York. So she bought a house in New York. She did not report this, obviously, as a federal finance donation, because you can't do that, and it'd be ridiculous if you were forced to do that, even though technically it's somewhat related to your campaign. There needs to be a but-for cause established. But for you running for president, would you have tried to silence Stormy Daniels? Well, we already know that Donald Trump was trying to silence Stormy Daniels before he was ever running. So obviously, the but-for fails. In order for Donald Trump to not be charged with these 34 felonies, what really the prosecutor is alleging is that Donald Trump should have used federal campaign money to pay off Stormy Daniels and reported it. That is what you have to believe as a jury to believe Alvin Bragg's case, which is that, yes, Donald Trump should have used campaign finance money, which is a ridiculous proposition for all the reasons I said before. Both the judge, the jury, and the prosecution were biased for reasons we'll get into.
All right, fantastic. With 15 seconds to spare, we now have a record for longest opening here that I'm sure Scott's going to break in the next round. All right, now I guess we're open. Our points of contention. Oh, one last thing. The judges, y'all, they're still here. They're listening, I'm sure, because they're very wise judges that would never just turn off their cameras or run away. Yeah, I know y'all. I'm just giving y'all some shit. If y'all have questions, I just want to specify they're y'all able to ask them. They just need to let me know, and then I will have them ask them themselves, and y'all can have exchange with them during this time period. Go ahead, Clark.
So your opening statement leads me to believe that you think that the hush money payments themselves is what Donald Trump is on the hook for.
No, so well, technically, yes, because in order to establish the felonies, the business falsification needs to be in furtherance of a different crime.
Yeah. So the question is, why did he falsify the documents? Not why did he pay the hush money? So why would he put that Michael Cohen that money was going to Michael Cohen for legal retainers when it was for hush money?
I'm not exactly just legal expenses. I'm not exactly sure if that is a misrepresentation. Again, there's plenty of reasons why you might pay your lawyer, hey, legal services, kind of a general broad catch-all. But if we're rolling with the assumption that he intentionally mislabeled this as legal expenses instead of, hush money, the answer is very simple, which is that he didn't want to get caught having an extramarital affair.
Okay. So your assumption is that Melania is like going through his business records to look for any type of hush money. Like, why would he put himself at legal jeopardy in order to hide the fact that he's having an extramarital affair?
I think it's probably pretty clear that he didn't think that he would be in legal jeopardy because it's not illegal to pay hush money to cover him.
streaming.
And only could Melania have gone through his personal records or his business record, but also Stormy Daniels, who, again, going back many years, at least until 2011, had already demonstrated a habit of trying to leak this for money. And so she gets a check saying hush money on it. You think that that's not going to help her in discrediting Donald Trump?
Well, if she was paid off, then she wouldn't be able to legally say anything about the affair.
Well, hold on. She got in trouble because she broke the NDA. She was under an NDA that she broke. I mean, this person was a loose cannon. She would ignore NDA.
It'd be possible, but the idea that like Donald Trump is falsifying his checks in order to stop Melania Trump, somebody that nobody has any proof of her going through any of this stuff, is kind of really reaching, in my opinion. Especially since Michael Cohen went on the stand and said that this was because of the election, like he testified to that.
No, I understand. So Michael Cohen and Donald Trump had at that point had an incredibly tumultuous relationship. But the answer, and this is the answer that Michael Cohen never gave, if this was done in order to directly influence the election, why was Michael Cohen silencing Stormy Daniels' stories as early as 2011?
It's possible that they had a different reason for trying to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011, but the outlook on the election, especially after the Hollywood Access Hollywood tapes came out, and they were freaking out about that. The idea that the election wasn't a part of the reason why they falsified these documents is just kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's got to be more than just a reason. It has to be a but for, which means that if Donald Trump was not running, would Donald Trump have had Michael Cohen try to silence that story? And the history would seem to demonstrate is even when he wasn't running for president, he had Michael Cohen try to silence that story because, again, he doesn't want his wife finding out. It makes perfect sense. You don't want your wife finding out. You don't want your business associates finding out. Again, assuming that this actually was intentionally mislabeled, it's very possible that Michael Cohen just said, "Hey, here's the bill," or perhaps he didn't even issue the payments themselves. He didn't organize the payments themselves. He just
Talking to Trump about it.
So what specifically does he say on tape? Because he doesn't specifically talk about those, like all 34 transactions. There's no way.
Well, he's talking about how he's going to create the shell company in order to pay the money to yeah.
So so I've heard that phone call. There is a phone call. It's unclear what the time proximity is between this phone call and when the checks were made. But regardless, Michael Cohen's way of organizing this payment to Stormy Daniels is actually somewhat irrelevant to the charges themselves. If you want to go after Michael Cohen for creating shell companies, maybe in violations or tax codes, you can. Nothing on those tapes indicates that Donald Trump directed this to happen. Nothing indicates that Donald Trump knew it was illegal or that there was some kind of issue with it. Remember, Donald Trump is not a lawyer. Michael Cohen is. If your lawyer is telling you this is how I'm going to organize the payment, a layperson, it's perfectly rational for them to say, okay, that makes sense.
So so you do agree that Trump knows that Michael Cohen had taken out a mortgage on his house in order to pay Stormy Daniels off, and that he was signing over checks to Michael Cohen in order to make him whole. This was a quote from Trump: "Make him whole." That was a repayment to him for Stormy Daniels and not a retainer. Like, you agree that he knows all that, right? At least.
No, hold on. When you're saying it's a little bit of a loaded term. When you say it's not a retainer, again, I think it's perfectly reasonable and doesn't necessarily indicate malintent to pay somebody for legal services, and that legal services covers things like legal bills, but also, hush money, quote unquote, NDA settlements. This is perfectly it's not irrational. Did Donald Trump have an idea that he was paying out money to have Stormy Daniels get hush money so she wouldn't talk about it? Yeah, I think so.
See, specifically the checks that he signed, I think, what was it, 9 checks that he signed that this was going to Michael Cohen for legal purposes, not to pay him back for hush money, but for legal purposes. I'm pretty sure it was for
NDA settlements, like hush money, as we say it, that's legal purpose, right? You're paying somebody a legal settlement. You're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you this. In exchange, you're not going to talk about this. The only question here is, was this done? Like, first of all, was it falsification, which I'm not even convinced about that. But rolling with the assumption that even it is falsification, then you have to prove that it was done in the furtherance of a separate crime, which I don't think you get to prove that, given that, again, he paid more in taxes. Crazy that they could, that could even be rationally construed as a intent, but also that he had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels, this story, since way before he was even running for president, because he's married and he has business properties. Do you think Hillary Clinton, does Hillary Clinton get to use campaign finance money to buy houses in New York? Should she be required to do that?
No,
just because she might run in New York.
Let me jump in here. I got a question from the peanut gallery, right? And their question is the Lactoid here. So, what exactly do you think was wrong since the jury convicted him on 34 counts, all this whatnot? Where exactly did they go wrong in this case? Was it the judge's instructions? Was it the jury's decision? What specifically was wrong? I know you talked about the before, but the chat wants you to clarify how if there's no before, how the jury and the judge could come to this conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, so there's, I think, bias at every level here during this trial, right? So Alvin Bragg, he, as part of his election campaign, literally ran on getting Trump, right? He specified that. The judge had donated money to an anti-Trump cause prior to this, for which he was investigated. And the jury is from a pool of overwhelmingly anti-Trump voters. Trump is an incredibly divisive person, obviously. He has a history of being controversial and being incredibly disliked, especially among urban New Yorkers. And so, yeah, I think it's very possible that the jury just looked at all the evidence and decided, you know what, I'm going to ignore all this, history. And part of the issue too is, Trump is insisting that he never slept with Stormy Daniels, right? I think a big part of this is probably, again, because he doesn't want his wife to find out. Is he going to be as candid about whether or not he actually committed these crimes as I am? I don't think so. I don't know. He's probably going to be more hesitant to testify to I slept with her and paid her hush money. So what? What's illegal about that? Because he's kind of stuck in a position where he can't say that. But the question is not whether or not he can say that. The question is whether or not he committed 34 felonies that are only felonies because, hey, we couldn't get them on the misdemeanor, which I think is already a dubious proposition at best. And we're going to turn them into felonies because we're going to allege that he committed a different crime, that he falsified with the intention of committing a different crime. And what's that? What's the crime? He should have used campaign finance. He should have reported that as a donation when he gave Stormy Daniels hush money. That's what they're arguing.
Did you read the election law that they're accusing him of violating?
I mean, not today, but I have read it. Yes, I did a deep dive into this back when I had a prior debate about this. I know one thing for a fact.
That was his source.
Just trust me, bro. I know one thing. I know one thing for a fact. Like the allegation of Bragg, in order to not have been charged with the felonies, at least according to two of the theories, was that Donald Trump should have logged the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels as campaign expenses. He should have made that public. That's what Alvin Bragg was saying that he should have done in order to avoid the felonies. That's ridiculous.
Can I read these laws out real quick? I mean, I'm a layman, and
Feels like a little muddled.
yeah, Lactoid's a lawyer, so maybe he knows something about this. I don't, but it says a person is. This is the I think they call it object crime. It's the overall crime, the falsifying of the business records. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and when his attempts to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime and aid or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. So this isn't even I don't know. Maybe there's some reading in the word intent that means that it has to be a but for, but that's not the way I read that law. It just says that if you falsify a business record.
You're confused. I can clarify right now. When you're saying, so the intent is specifically to commit the other crime. The other crime, the allegation is campaign finance crime. And what makes campaign finance crime a crime, according to FICA standards, is if you're, but for you running, this expense would have never been logged.
Well, no. So this law says it includes the intent. It doesn't say that you have to have that as the sole intent.
No, you have to commit the falsification of business records. If you do the falsification of business records with the intent of doing another,
includes the intent. So you intend to defraud
with the intent.
With his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime. So even if you're falsifying these business records and this other crime that you're going to be using these falsified business records isn't the sole reason why you're falsifying these business records, this still can count.
No. But in order for that other thing to be a crime, according to FICA standards, the falsification or the violation of campaign finance, this is a but-for standard. So you're
FICA, we're talking about the New York statute that he was indicted under.
Look here. In order for this to even be a crime, the federal campaign finance laws, in order for that to even be a crime, you have to establish the but-for. Okay, you have to report it if you only would have paid for this, or you would have not paid for this, but for you running, right? And if you are running, and because you are running, you're paying for this, and you don't report it as a donation, then you run afoul of federal finance laws. Okay, have we established yet?
Not even talking about the federal laws.
Oh, I got.
Then hold on, wait. If you're not even talking about the federal laws, then when it says falsifies the business records to commit another crime with the intent of committing another crime, what is that other crime?
The New York election laws.
The New York election law, specifically interference in the 2016 election.
17-152.
Well, let me add up right now. This is actually this is from the chat, one of the chatters. Then I have another question. So this one is going to be first. We'll go with this one's from iCowRich, right? If Trump's team considered ceasing payments after the election, doesn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Say it one more time.
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election, does that satisfy the but-for standard?
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election.
Yes. Wouldn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Not necessarily. It would depend if other things were happening prior to this, such as Stormy Daniels violating your NDA.
What? All right. So perfect. That leaves it. I'm gonna let you answer this as well, Liberal Collect. That question, but also I have a second question. This is from, I think, Davies' chat here. If you knew that Trump was falsely convicted by a biased jury, what evidence would convince you to call Trump innocent? I think this ties to the first question for you. Like, what do you, would you consider that the but-for satisfactory? And then what, in the second question as well.
Regardless of whether the jury biases, the fact that he signed those checks and that led to the falsifying of false business records to be maintained by the Trump organization, and he signed those checks, there would have to be some sort of proof that the election wasn't a part of the reason why he signed those checks for me to think maybe he might be innocent. And I would have to just look into the other two underlying crimes that Alvin Bragg came up with to see if that was if there's anything to that. And then I would say that he's innocent of the felony, but he's still definitely guilty of the misdemeanor. Which
if he's innocent,
which the statute of limitations had come up on that. But I don't even you would have to there'd have to be some kind of proof that the election wasn't his concern when he wasn't concerned about the election when he was signing when he was falsifying those checks.
So let me ask you a question. In 2011, in May he dropped out, and then in October of 2011, Cohen silenced Stormy Daniels' story by threatening to sue the magazine The Dirty. Why did Trump and Michael Cohen try to silence Stormy Daniels in October of 2011?
There's probably plenty of reasons why he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011. What I'm saying is that when he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2015, the election was a part of the reason.
Hold on. So you're saying that there are reasons for why they tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011.
Yes.
Were those reasons still present prior to the 2016 election?
Probably, yeah. It could have been. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
It's definitely possible.
Sure. What evidence do you have that all of a sudden the behavior of Donald Trump would have changed between 2011 and 2015-16, absent the election? Do you have any kind of basis to say that Donald Trump would have acted differently than he had been acting before?
I don't know. Would he have falsified records back then? Possibly, yeah.
So we don't. So we don't know that it was specifically to violate finance law.
But none of these laws. None of these laws. Hold on. None of these laws say that there can't be other reasons.
When you say it can't be other reasons, what are you talking about?
Like you're saying, well, because he had other reasons where he could have done his actions, then the election doesn't have anything to do with it.
Hold on. So this is why the but-for standard is so important. If I take a shower and then I go to campaign, should I be forced to log my water bill as a campaign expense? No, because there's all sorts of reasons why I shower. And I'm going to shower regardless of whether or not I'm running. So I can't say, but for the election, I wouldn't shower. The question here is, if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, would he still have paid off Stormy Daniels? And the only evidence we have of Donald Trump potentially doing this would be that he has done it in the past when he wasn't running for president. There is a history here of him trying to stop Stormy Daniels from coming out with this story. And so if there's no reason, there's no change in circumstances here in terms of other considerations, why in 2011, between 2011 and 2015-16, I think it's pretty clear that the burden of proof, because again, it's criminal, you got to prove that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that The proof here is incredibly insufficient. It's very likely, it's very probable, in fact, that even if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, he still would have had Michael Cohen try to silence the story in 2015 and 16.
Having Michael Cohen try to silence the story in 2015, 2016 isn't the crime here. Him falsifying the checks is the crime.
It only becomes okay. Do you agree that the other crime, like when it's saying like intend to commit another crime, that is a alleged violation of federal campaign finance?
No, it's the New York State.
Well, there's three theories. So I'm knocking them down one by one. Okay.
So with the one that Burke said was his most important one, which is the New York State one.
Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about the New York State one. When he's saying influence 2016 election, how is he saying that's
Wait,
the 2000?
yeah, read the law. It says conspiracy to promote or prevent an election. Any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, such as falsifying business records, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. That is what the state law that Alvin Bragg's hinged a lot of his argument on says.
Yeah.
I added about the business records, just in case you didn't get that.
So I understand you put it in there, but again, the argument fits with both. The underlying allegation is the same between the federal campaign finance allegation and the violation of New York State campaign, like election campaign, election laws. The allegation is that this was done with the intention of influencing the presidential election campaign. What is your evidence of this? Because he was doing this before he ran for president. Isn't it possible that he would have been doing this entirely independently of the fact that he was running for president, considering that's what he did in 2011?
It's possible he could have committed crimes even though he wasn't running off for president. Yes,
but it wouldn't. Okay, but it wouldn't be a crime because you agree paying hush money is not a crime.
It's not paying hush money. It's falsifying the documents. It's not.
I know, but just again, walk with me. Paying hush money is not a crime. We would have said, okay. So if Donald Trump pays hush money to Stormy Daniels, let's say he's alleged to do so in 2011, would agree no crime has been committed, right? That's correct. That. Okay. So if he's silencing the story in 2011, and then he's doing the same thing in 2015 and 16, how could you allege that he's doing that because of some interest in the election if he's doing that before he even ran?
Well, for one, it's the falsifying of the business records that's the issue. The thing he was indicted on is not paying Stormy Daniels hush money.
Wait, please. Let's just, for the sake of the argument, even though I'm not conceding this, let's just assume that he falsified the business records. Let's just assume it's obvious. Yes, he falsified when he wrote legal expenses. He was like, I know I should be categorizing this as something else, but I'm not. Let's just say that's the case, okay? Now, in order to make it a felony, to make it even chargeable now at this point, yep, you agree it would have to be done for the commission of a different crime, right?
Which is 17-152, which I just read.
Yes, that's the one that turns the misdemeanor into a felony. And so that second crime would be, with the intent to commit the second crime. That's important. And so the intent here is to unlawfully influence the 2016 election. How can you prove that he was trying to influence the 2016 election with this decision to pay hush money if he'd been already trying to silence Stormy Daniels since 2011? It seems like his interest in silencing Stormy Daniels is independent from the fact that he was running for president in 2016 because he's been trying to silence her since 2011.
His interest in silencing Stormy Daniels and falsifying the business records. Like that's the thing that we're on here. It includes his 2016 election, which was testified to in court.
You think it's possible? Give me, please. Do you think it's possible that Donald Trump, when he was making the payments, the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, that the purpose of this, much like the purpose was in 2011 to try to silence Stormy Daniels, was to protect Donald Trump's reputation, wholly independent of the fact that he was a presidential candidate?
Not in 2016, no. Oh, in 2000, because he was running for president, and because the idea that his actions were not influenced by that is ridiculous.
They were influenced by that in 2011.
Although I want to ask a question here, just to clarify, because I'm just a little confused. So this took place, from what I understand, right? It's 2011. Is that what y'all are saying? The original sleeping with hush money stuff. Is that correct?
So 2006, I think, is when the
Okay,
thing
2006
happened.
So okay, and then the 2011 was when this was what date exactly? What was that?
It was in May of 2011 that Donald Trump said he was stepping down. He wasn't going to run anymore. I think it was May. It may have been March. Start with it.
2011.
2011, and then it was October of 2011 that quote Daniel's agent Gina Rodriguez leaked the story to the gossip blog The Dirty in October, and then the post was taken down following threatening letters from Trump's lawyers, aka Michael Cohen.
So just for clarification, between 2006 and 2011, was there money paid? Was that so he smashed her 2006? He paid her at some point between then and 2011.
No,
No.
he could have, but I don't know. So 2006 happened. He smashed. Then in 2011, the story's going to get leaked to a gossip blog. And then Trump directs his lawyers, and by the way, this is after he is no longer running for president in 2011.
So
And then he directs his attorney, Michael Cohen, his lawyers, to basically go after The Dirty and stop them from helping the story.
But I'm about to ask you a quick question. Hey, you have to go. Yeah, it's about to go to you. This because I'm trying to clarify for something of the audience. So I guess my question is, right? So if you agree to those facts, and you can dispute them whenever it comes to you, if it seems to be like if he was sleeping with someone in 2006, and between then and 2011 there was an NDA assigned or something along those lines, and possibly payments made or whatever, and then she's going to leak it, would you disagree? Do you think that he's worried about this in 2006 because he thinks he's going to run for president then, or like all of this was like, what's your argument? That are you arguing that he was planning for presidential run since 2006 and he didn't want to hide this, or like what?
I don't think that's irrelevant, because the election, it seems pretty obvious, and by the testimony, and the jury agreed, that he was worried about the election when he made these decisions. When he did these things, the election was at least a factor. Now, his wife, his reputation, his businesses could have also been factors, and they were still factors back then. I do have a question for Lactoid. Did he, in 2011, falsify business records in order to cover up the Stormy Daniels story?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so there's your evidence that he made a different action, which was falsifying the business records, which is what he's actually was indicted for in 2016 when he was running for president. The only thing that changed is that he's running for president, and he didn't do that in 2011. That's why it's important for me to keep you focused on the fact that he falsified business records, because that's what he's actually being indicted for, and not the fact that he made hush money payments, because that's not what he's being indicted for.
I'm having difficulty because I thought I made this clear. I understand that he was charged with falsification of business records. You don't have to keep saying it. I understand. Yes, 34 felonies, all falsification of business records that were felonies. The question is, what turns it from a misdemeanor, which can't be charged, to a felony? Well,
Yeah.
the allegation is that, well, what turns it into a felony is that it's done specifically to with the intent. Like, that means that Donald Trump actually had the intent to commit a different crime.
Yes.
And so did he have, when he was doing this?
He intended to promote his presidential campaign by falsifying business records.
I know you're saying that he intended to promote his campaign. How did he intend to use this to promote his campaign?
By having an extra layer to cover up the fact that he made hush money payments to a porn star.
How does that promote his campaign?
Because the story doesn't get out, and it's harder to track down, because it looks like he's paying Michael Cohen a lawyer's fees instead of hush money payments.
Hold on. How is this done specifically to promote his campaign? Are you saying that hey, I don't want to admit that I'm a cheater, and not admitting you're cheating, you're doing this to promote your campaign?
You're promoting a good character. Yes, absolutely. You're hiding something bad you did in order to get yourself elected.
Gotcha. And If you're hiding something bad that you did that you've been hiding since 2011, which you had no intention of running at the point. But yeah, if you're hiding something in 2011 when you're not running, right? Oh, you obviously got this reason for hiding this, right? Does this you're saying that the idea that he would do the exact same thing and he was doing the exact same thing in 2015, you're saying this is just
Well, you didn't. You admitted you didn't falsify business records then.
wait. The exact same thing when it comes to whether or not it's political. The only question, leave aside the fact that he falsified business records for just a second.
That's the whole indictment, but go ahead.
I don't leave the whole indictment aside then for just a second. Leave it aside for just 1 second with me, please. I'm trying to establish here. Did he do this? Because the only question is, got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, right? This is in the light most favorable to Trump. Is it possible, in a light most favorable to Trump, that he did this with the intention of, shutting up Stormy Daniels for personal reasons, like he did in 2011?
I think that he did it for personal reasons, including the election. No, I do not think it's, I think that beyond a reasonable doubt, if the election was a motivator here.
So let me ask you this then, because that seems to be kind of like the Lactoid's reasonable doubt thing. If you think it's just one of things, what percentage do you assign to that? And if so, why does that even matter? Because if it's 50%, then, I don't think that feels reasonable doubt. I mean, I could be wrong, but if it's 100%, you think it was just the election? What do you?
Well, no. I 100% think that the election was included in his reasoning. There could have been other reasons also on top of the election, but all you need for the
is 11.
No, 2016.
Oh, okay.
All you need for 17-152 is for him to try and influence the election in this way, to promote himself to become president by committing a crime, which was falsifying the documents, which was he did in order to hide the fact that he was making hush money payments.
All right, real quick. So now before, you can respond. I'll give you 1 minute here to respond. But then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let, if y'all have any questions, I'm gonna let the judges ask for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna go into closing. So yeah, go ahead and respond real quick, and then let's see what the judges got here.
Yeah. So just to be clear, it's not, the standard is not the idea of hey, he's doing the exact same that he did before, and he would have done the exact same that he did before, but here is some other new potential small percentage possibility that he's considering. That's not the standard. Again, the FICA standard is a but for. It's FICA, we're talking about. When it comes to the state law, again, it is not this happens to be one minor factor. Hillary Clinton, prior to this, bought a house in New York with the intention of running in that area, and she had to live there in that area. Her campaign had started before she bought the house to run in this area. Is it possible that at some tiny percentage of the reason why she bought the house to run in this area has to do with the fact that she is running for office in that house? No, but she would have ran afoul of federal campaign finance laws by buying the house, or not federal finance laws. She would have run afoul of this specific, of the New York law, if she had done so, by violating FICA laws, which she would have done if your standard is correct.
All right, fantastic. All right, judges, let's start with Fabian. You got any questions for our two of them?
Yeah. So, it seems to be that we're kind of running and looping in this debate on circles on this concept of but for. And so my question is to Lactoid as well as Liberal Clock, right? I think both of you would admit that the likelihood of this coming out in the election is probably, at least in part of the motivation, or at the very least a good reason to engage in the behavior that he did. Correct? So that's the first part. Would you both agree to that? That it's a good reason at the very least to try and hide a potential scandal in the midst of a political election.
Sure. Yeah, I 100% think that was a big part of the reason.
Well, you think it's the majority reason, right?
It's
simple. When we're discussing the concept of but for, right? The natural follow-up here is, if he wasn't electing, if he wasn't in the midst of an election, would this have occurred? And it seems like Lactoid is trying to establish that this would have occurred because he did it in the past. Do you, Liberal Cluck, do you believe that if Donald Trump wasn't running for election, but Stormy Daniels was about to expose again the fact that he was cheating on his wife, that he would have spent some form of hush money and then potentially just said, oh, these are legal fees, so that his wife and media and journalists and all these other people don't find out about it. And then
Yeah, I don't think he would have falsified the documents because he didn't do that in the past. We don't have any reason to believe that he would have done it in 2016, but for the election.
do we have the check that was signed in 2011?
Yes, we do.
And,
No, that 2011, I don't know.
and it says this is Stormy Daniels' hush money, or does,
Oh, I don't know, but it wouldn't be my responsibility to provide that because that's not a part of my argument.
I mean, if you were arguing the case, it would be. But fair enough. I'm just you saying that he didn't do that, so it is part of your argument because your argument states.
Well, no, Lactoid said that he doesn't believe he did that. Like that was what my opponent said.
I believe he said that he doesn't believe he falsified business records. So also doesn't believe about 2016. So just I'm not trying to be an asshole, right? Like,
This is the question, yeah.
if we got the check from 2011, right, and it said lawyers' fees, would you be like, fuck it, he's innocent, or not?
I would say that the but-for argument would hold more water than it does right now.
That's my question. Fair enough.
Okay. Non-fun 420. Go ahead, Bubba.
Yeah, I guess. So do we need to, in order for there to be a criminal conviction, do we need to prove the but-for intent beyond a reasonable doubt?
It doesn't. By the way, the laws will work. The written, it doesn't seem like the but-for is even relevant in my opinion. But Lactoid's a lawyer, so he might.
I know it's non-fun, but do we agree that reasonable doubt is the standard for a criminal conviction?
Oh yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt. But like the idea that he committing this crime, it wouldn't be a crime because he would have done it in 2011 without the election. Like it doesn't seem like it would be. It doesn't seem like the way this law is written.
Okay.
But then maybe there's some kind of jurisprudence that says that about this law that wasn't provided in this debate. I don't know.
Oh, there is no jurisprudence. This is a novel case. This has been charged against Trump in this situation and nobody else.
17-452 has never been charged against anybody.
Not in this way. Not
But
in this-
has it ever been like? There's got to be.
I don't know. I know.
Okay,
It's
so
possible that it was charged in some other potential situation, but it never has it been the case where there's been 34 misdemeanors that are been specifically moved up to felonies to get past statute of limitations, with the theories here being that the falsification of business records was having to do with this kind of like melding with election law. This is a entirely novel situation.
Ministers then gives you the what was that?
Little sentence, and then you can say something. Again, like I hate to feel like I'm looping here a little bit, right? But the point that I'm trying to like really hammer home here is that but-for is critical to establish any kind of campaign, any kind of actual felony here, because otherwise you fall into like complete absurdity, right? Can you imagine if, let's say Donald Trump writes a check to his water company when he took a shower before he went out on stage? Did he, and the bill, and it doesn't specify, the check doesn't specify, it just says like to water company, it doesn't specify what the check is for. And the water company cashes the check. Did he falsify that business record in order to influence the election by making sure that he was scrubbed clean and looked good and looked fresh for the cameras?
there is something important to point out here is that these weren't just like personal checks from Donald Trump's. The falsified records were a part of the Trump organization. So
The campaign.
it was a part of the Trump. That's why it's a business, a falsifying of business records. It's not his personal records. He's falsifying
You can alter my hypothetical slightly. Let's say the Trump organization paid a water
for his water bill.
Yeah, which, by the way, Trump organization probably owns.
Non-fun. Does this answer your question, or do you have you can go if you have another one. Feel free to jump on that.
I mean, I got my answer from Liberal Cluck. He doesn't think it's relevant. But Lactoid, I'm curious. Do you think that we need to prove the but-for beyond a reasonable doubt in order to get the conviction?
I do. I think that you have to prove a but-for. I think that the argument as to, I think that the taxing is ridiculous. The FICA violation, I think that's the one that I think you'd really have to prove, like the but-for. The New York election statute is I think particularly egregious because the argument is, well, it's a misdemeanor, because the actual law, and Section 17152, quote, conspiracy to promote or prevent election. Any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more of the parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. And so you got to prove, like, in order to like establish this, you have to prove that they were conspiring to alter the election through unlawful means, or to promote the election through unlawful means. I don't think that you make it. I don't think you make it that he was falsified business records. I don't think that you make it that he promoted the election. And I think you run afoul of some key legal principles if you're going to try to use the unlawful element of 17152. If you're going to try to wrap in the falsification of business records as the unlawful mean, you're essentially turning a misdemeanor into a felony by a predicate of that requires the misdemeanor to begin with. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but you could choose this as a felony in almost every single situation.
You could theoretically falsify business records and not have it be.
Hold on. Non-fine. What did you want to say something else in there before we can move on?
Oh, I said it was okay. You can move on.
Okay, perfect. All right, I would like to get one more question, non-fine, but unfortunately we're gonna run out of time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do closings. We're gonna do the inverse order we did last time. I believe Clux started. Is that correct? Yeah. And Lactoid, you'll start. I'm gonna give you. Well, I was going to give you more time, but you're going to get 3 minutes is what you're going to get to go. And at 3 minutes, I'm cutting you off, whoever's still going. So feel free and starting now. I'll give you, this will be 30 seconds.
I'm going.
I'll do that. Yeah. So I'll start it now, but this will be 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then I'll just count you down at 10.
Okay. I mean, go ahead and cut me off if I go over. It's fine. So I don't think that falsification of business records has been proven. Again, it's perfectly rational and natural that when you have an attorney, hey, I'm paying you for legal expenses. I don't think that the requisite proof has been provided that this was actually intended to hide something in any kind of illegal way. I think it's probably the case that, he was saying, hey, like, don't specify exactly what it was for. I don't want my wife finding out. I don't want other people finding out about that. But that's perfectly reasonable. When you write a check to lawyers for legal expenses, they don't necessarily have to specify in that check all the different things they charge for: writing motion, deposition transcript, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes it's just simply a check for legal expenses. That's perfectly natural and perfectly rational. I don't think that you've established an intent that this was done with any intent to falsify. And even if you could somehow prove that this was the case, I think that this would be a misdemeanor with the statute of limitations already passed. And so the only way to bring back the statute of limitations, sort of bring the case back to life, is to turn it into felonies. And the three theories presented by Bragg, I think, fall on their face independently. The tax issue wasn't even talked about. I think that was relatively conceded. He paid more in taxes. There's no real reason why you would want to conspire. Like, it would make sense to intend to commit tax fraud to pay more taxes. Definitely not beyond a reasonable doubt. When it comes to violation of FICA, the arguments can be the same thing as when it comes to the New York law. I don't think there's actually evidence here that this was done with the intention of altering the campaign. I think this was done very much along the same lines as he did before 2011. If he didn't do this in 2011 and he had just let Stormy Daniels do whatever right up until his election, maybe you could argue at that point that this was done for a specific electoral purpose. But I think the smoking gun here is the fact that before he was running, this had nothing to do with this campaign whatsoever. Michael Cohen and his lawyers were going after Stormy Daniels to try to silence the fact that she was talking about an extramarital affair that Donald Trump had. Plenty of reasons why somebody might want to not have an extramarital affair come out, especially if they're married and if they have a bunch of business dealings. The New York election law, I think that you have a contradiction in law if you're using this to turn a misdemeanor into a felony by appealing to the misdemeanor itself. And I also think that if you're going to say it's due to some other unlawful purpose as specified in 1715, you have to prove FICA and you have to prove the tax fraud, neither of which I think you'll be able to do. This was because of a biased judge, prosecutor, and jury. I think that Donald Trump is not guilty of 34 felonies, and I would have voted against his conviction if I was part of that jury.
Right, fantastic. All right, we just reset this, and Fuck, you got the last statement here, and then we'll have some judging, and I'll tell you how the judges work. All right, fantastic. Go ahead.
I think that the idea that the judge, all 12 members of the jury, and the prosecutor in this case was just all biased against Trump, and that's the only reason why he got convicted, is way more fantastical than the idea that Donald Trump falsified those business records in order to help promote himself in his 2016 election. Lactoid said that the smoking gun is that he didn't, is that he tried to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels in 2011. Therefore, there's no but for with the 17-52, the New York election law. However, there is no evidence that that Lactoid has been able to bring up that Donald Trump actually falsified business records in 2011, which would be a new act in which he committed in order to promote himself to be president. So the fact that he actually paid hush money isn't what's on trial here. The fact that he falsified documents, which the 9 checks and the other 33 documents, the invoices and ledgers, they were all presented to the jury.
Was it because of the election?
Goodness gracious. Sorry, I had a chat comment. Yeah, so he says that but falsifying business records was not proven. The checks have his signature on it. Not all of them do, but they have his signature on them with the falsified reason for paying Michael Cohen. It just seems so cut and dry to me. I'm not it's pretty obvious that Trump signed those checks. It's pretty obvious that he put the wrong reasoning on those checks, and it's pretty obvious that he did so in order to hide the fact that he slept with Stormy Daniels and paid her hush money before the election so that he has a better chance of winning the presidency. That's all I got.
You don't have to end there. You still got one.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, perfect. Chat. So here's what we do. We're gonna put the voting up. Chat. Y'all vote on who who won. Real simple. There's judges in here. All right, y'all DM me each who y'all think won, and then we'll announce at the end of the show.
I have no idea why he had to pay her
Dude,
twice.
as I said,
No,
we're gonna see
that's weird to me.
is healthcare human right with the our boys. Thank you, Lactoid TV, and thank you, Liberal Cluck, for being the very first one. Maybe in many years when we're all rich and famous, y'all will be able to look back on this day and say y'all were the first ones in the inaugural tournament with pride, and or we can laugh at you. I don't know. We'll see. Always got to be a first winner and loser. So anyway, moving on. Thank you all so much for being here. Shout out y'all's channels while we wait before we switch over. Tell us what you are, what you do.
Oh yeah, I'm 1 o'clock on Kick and YouTube. Lactoid, thank you so much for debating me. It was fun.
Yeah. No, thank you for talking. Lactoid TV. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.